Hi, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader. Today I'm doing the Nonfiction on BookTube tag. I was tagged in this by the creator of this tag, Olive, from abookolive, and she is also the creator of or at least the host of and creator of Nonfiction November. And so she has a series of 10 questions here, and let's go ahead and get into them. So if you don't know, it is Nonfiction November. I hope you all are participating. So, question number 1 is, how much nonfiction do you read? So, every month I include at least one nonfiction. Sometimes I will read a bit more. But yeah, if you go back to those videos, I think maybe I will incorporate maybe one or two other nonfiction books in my TBR. But actually, back then I wasn't reading as much nonfiction as I do now. The last couple months have been kind of loaded with nonfiction, basically because I joined NetGalley and I've been requesting a lot of nonfiction books from there. But yeah, so that's kind of skewed my numbers. So I really don't know. This month's gonna be all nonfiction. Last month I think was 7 of the 9 books I read were nonfiction. The month before that, I think majority of them were fiction. So it's kind of up in the air right now. It looks to be more that my reading has been shifting more towards nonfiction, only because I take advantage of NetGalley and have a lot of availability for it. But yeah, so just to say, I have been reading a lot lately. Question 2. What kind of nonfiction do you make? What type of nonfiction videos do you make, or do you want to make on BookTube? I don't make a lot of nonfiction videos, but last year I made a nonfiction series about World War One. And if you've been on this channel, I think back in July or early August, I announced I was doing another project. Unfortunately, I have not had the time to sit down and do that. That was going to be on the Red Summer of 1919. So I'm going to push that to next year, and then when I have proper time to sit down and actually devote time and resources to it to make it as good as I wanted to be, then I will go ahead and pick that back up again. All the research for it is done. I just have to sit down and actually write the script for them because last time I did it, I kind of just ad-libbed it, and when I finished, I had about 40 minutes of footage I had to go sit down and edit. So I'm hoping that trying to write a script for those type of videos will make the editing process a lot easier, so I don't have like a 40-50 minute video, and then once I'm done, only have about 10-12 minutes of actually useful footage. So once I get the time and I figure some stuff out, I will be finishing that project. But yeah, so I do want to continue making more of those. My goal actually this year was to make another project like that for this year, but I don't think that's gonna happen because I just don't have really the time. Question 3 is, what's your favorite subgenre of nonfiction? And that is history. I love reading history nonfiction. A lot of the books I have been history nonfiction. Not all of them, but a lot of them have been, and I really enjoy reading about history. I don't really have a particular time period that's my favorite. I'm pretty much all over the place when it comes to reading it, but because I like variety. So yeah, my favorite is definitely be history. Question 4. Do you have a favorite nonfiction book? I do, actually, and that is let me see if I can find it actually. Here it is. It is called Endurance: Shackleton's Incredible Journey by Alfred Lansing, and this book is about Ernest Shackleton's expedition to Antarctica. He was trying to be the first man to cross the Antarctic from one end of the continent to the other. Unfortunately, his ship got crushed in the ice before he ever hit the mainland, and him and his men had to survive on the ice until they could get to the open ocean, and then get in small canoes to get to an island, and then they had to go from that island to another island, and then cross that island to get help. And then they had to wait, like it was months for them to finally get a rescue boat to go back. But this book is one of my favorites. It's all like beat up because I've read it so many times. And it's definitely one of my favorites. It's a mixture of like history. It's thrilling. It's a very exciting read, and definitely my favorite, I would say, nonfiction read that I have. Yeah. So question 5 is, what do you think keeps people from wanting to read more nonfiction? I think the thing is that a lot of nonfiction doesn't offer the same instant, I would say, gratification that a lot of fiction offers. So like you read like a mystery and you kind of get like that fun and excitement. It's like immediate, it's there if it's well written. And fiction doesn't offer that a lot of times. And then like especially when you're in school, the stuff you're kind of assigned is kind of dry. It's just meant more to kind of teach you than kind of to entertain you. But if nonfiction is written with well, and depending on the subject matter, it can be both very exciting, interesting, and also hold your attention. For example, I read one book last year called The 30 Years War, and that was a boring and dry book. But like I've read, for example, this past month I've read a biography of Sophia, who was almost the Queen of England. She was like on her way to being the Queen of England, and her life was really exciting, because not all. I read a book. To my point, I read a book earlier this year about dinosaurs that was written really well and very interesting. So not all fiction is dry and boring, but I think that a lot of what is given in school can be, and so it turns a lot of people off. And they don't read it. But there's a lot of variety in nonfiction. It's not just history, because I read a lot of it. It's not just like history. There's memoirs, biographies about people. If you're more interested in people than like in like events. You have science, books on politics, books on philosophy. So you have nonfiction books on a variety of interests. Photography, art. So whatever you're interested in, like as a hobby, other than something that's like fiction, you can find a nonfiction book pretty much on it that may interest you, so and that kind of, well, and for the next question, it says, this question 6 is, why do you like nonfiction? And I like nonfiction really because I get to learn something from it. Whatever nonfiction book I read, I try to learn something. I'm sweating because I'm sitting here in the sweats in like a sweatshirt and the sun is like beaming. But I like learning stuff. My thing is I'm not going to know everything about everything, so I like to know a little bit about as much as I can as possible, which is great because you're ever in a situation where someone's talking about something, maybe something I've read in a book somewhere in the past may show up, or they may be interested in something that I've read. I'm able to share that with them. So I like reading nonfiction specifically because I like reading something, hearing different perspectives. History more for the learning and for finding different perspectives. And I like reading stuff like biographies and memoirs because learning how other people have done things, lived their lives, things they've experienced, kind of opens up your perspective and eyes to how people are living life in the real world. So that's why I like it. Number 7 is, what's a nonfiction book you read because of BookTube? Well, actually, I'll have to say like every nonfiction book I reviewed in like the past couple months has been because of BookTube, because I wouldn't be on NetGalley if I wasn't on BookTube. And so, all those books that I've recently reviewed, I've read because I've been on BookTube, and that's encouraged me to get on NetGalley. And so those are any of those books that I've read. What's the best nonfiction book? This is question 8. What's the best nonfiction book you've read lately? The best nonfiction book I actually have a review. I'm not sure when I'm going to put this video up, but either I've already put out the review for it or will put out the review. Has been Malaya, Essays on Freedom by Sanel Barnes. She also wrote a memoir a couple years ago, I believe, called Monsoon Mansion. And both of these books are absolutely amazing. Once I started reading Malaya, I could not put it down. I only put it down to sleep, and I think I finished it in 2 days because it was just such a well-written book, and it's about her experiences here in America. So I really, as an immigrant, it was really good. I really enjoyed that book. Question 9 is, what are some of your nonfiction reading goals? And for me, mine this year was to read more other nonfiction other than history. So I've read like some in science. That was like the dinosaur book. I've read some of politics. I've read a memoir, a couple biographies. So that was my reading goal, was kind of expand my nonfiction reading beyond just history, which most of it was last year, and to get into other types of nonfiction, which I have been successful at this year. So that's been good. I don't really have any other specific nonfiction reading goals. And 10, what's your advice for incorporating some more nonfiction into your reading diet? If you're not a reader of nonfiction, then it's going to have to be something that is more deliberate if you want to do it, because you're probably not going to just pick up a nonfiction book of your own volition. I believe when I was watching Olive's tag a video, she said if you're reading a fiction book about, say for example, say you're reading historical fiction, and it's about, I don't know, the Tudors or Henry VIII, War of 1812, whatever. Why don't you, when you read that, read a nonfiction book related to that? So you try to connect what you're reading to what you are reading in fiction. So you have that connection there. So you read your fiction book, you can enjoy that, and then also kind of get the background for where that fiction book sits in and is informed by. So that's one way to do it. I generally look for things that will interest me, so stuff I'm already interested in, and then try to read nonfiction books about it, because it makes no sense to pick up, like, say, a book on, I don't know, corsets, and I have like no interest in reading corsets, and I'm just reading it just to say I read nonfiction. Find stuff that you think you find interesting. Like if it's photography you like, pick up a book on photography. I mean, even if it's like a how-to on photography, that's still like a nonfiction book that you've read on photography. Or if you enjoy paintings, pick up a book about art paintings. You know, it doesn't have to be like a history of art paintings. It could be just a book talking about the different artists that painted. So there are ways to incorporate nonfiction in with your reading and make it fun and interesting for you. And then there's a bonus recommendation, is that I give recommendations of nonfiction booktubers or nonfiction book channels that you love. Of course, that's going to be Olive's channel, BookOlive. I'll put the links down in the description box. Justin from TriumphalReads reads a lot of nonfiction, and Brian from Bookish. I like his nonfiction reads too. He reads fiction as well, but he reads some good nonfiction too. So that is going to be it for me for this video. I'd like to thank once again Olive for tagging me in this video. If you read a lot of nonfiction, or you think you read enough to do this tag, please feel free to do so. I think of more people will be doing this tag. So if you're looking for nonfiction booktubers, you can search this tag video, like the title of this tag video, and you should be able to find us. I am really sweating. Oof. Man, I'm gonna have to get off this sweatshirt. But yeah, so if you like this video, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GhostReads28, on Instagram at Justin the Ghost Reader, and also on Goodreads. The link to that is down in the description box below. So as always, keep reading.